All right.
All right.
It's Friday. We made it.
Yes.
PTIF.
Tracy's here. William's here. Kay Miller, Phil, Robbie. Robbie. All right. Robbie was here. He beat us all. That's pretty good. All right. We got a bunch of stuff.
Dave, do we need really quick? This is official business here. Do we need to switch the thing to make a new logo for George Dispatch News? I need it's the same thing, but it's American Pulse Podcast. Well, we have the YouTube channel, so just leave it, right?
Well, we should rebrand it properly.
All right. Well,
as opposed to doing the
All right.
the shanty look.
This is high budget, man. This is
high budget.
Oh.
You know what they used to call in the tenements? In the tenements, if you had there were cobwebs like all over the place, they used to call those shanty curtains. I won't apply that to any particular ethnicity, but you all know who you are. Nice kick to start with Gene and David, my American Pulse friends. Yeah, Aaron, all right. Ginger's here. Debbie made it again. All right. Debbie, we think you're terrific. That's great.
All right.
Right up until we don't. I'm just kidding.
Hey, Dave.
Okay. Well, listen. Wait a minute. Breaking today, and I don't have all the facts yet, but there's a quote unquote leaked Pentagon email that Reuters picked up, and it's an official Pentagon email. Basically laying out that the President Trump and Secretary of War Hegseth want to boot Spain out of NATO and possibly Italy. That there are consequences. You don't want to let us use our own bases? What are you, crazy?
You know, the thing is, Trump already trial ballooned, and it's not for a trial balloon, but basically getting it in their heads. Hey, I might leave NATO, right? And then they're secretly like, oh my goodness, you can't leave NATO. Then he goes, maybe then he trial balloons it with Spain and Italy. Guys, if you haven't figured out, Donald Trump is going to call the shots. That's it. He's going to call the shots.
What President Trump is doing for the first time in history is utilizing the leverage that the United States has.
Leverage.
Right? Basically, it's like, and there's one more part to this that's it's really fun. So basically, it's like, they might balk, we're our own countries. We don't need any. You can't tell us to get out of NATO. Okay, then we don't help you. We'll just close the bases, and you can absorb that loss, and that'll be the end of that. And we don't help you. See, the other problem is what many don't realize is Putin and the rest of these lunatics, they all have homes in the south of Spain. All of them. They're all hanging around there.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
all right.
It makes it right.
So there's one more point, Gene. So apparently Germany, who would have thought, is stepping up to be the kind of United States of Europe. They're going to be they want to, they think they have what it takes to protect, Europe. Who would have thought? And this is real. This is real, verifiable. I mean, but who would have thought Germany? Who would have thought Germany would want to take over all of Europe? I mean, that thought is so bizarre.
More than ever.
Really.
More than ever, you're going to see, and this show is loaded, even for Friday. Usually, I try to look for like the most softball of the softball. Let's talk New York Mets or whatever. This is a packed show. So thank you very much for coming out here.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we start with the breaking news, or at least breaking news to me now, with Andre Bauer?
Oh, yeah, friend Andre.
Yeah. So you guys remember we did an article on Andre Bauer. He was a writer for George as well. He appeared at George Magazine live, but just President Trump just nominated him for the ambassador to Belize.
And where is Belize exactly?
It is okay. It is. Oh my God! I feel like it's in Latin America, like in the Caribbean. I'm going.
I think it is.
I am going.
Well, let me check. I think it might be just off the coast of Venezuela.
I'm going, man.
We actually have to hunt for this. Sorry, Andre.
Yeah, it's a little on the near Venezuela, right? So while David,
I touched my mouse wheel and now I can't find anything.
So what ends up happening while he searches for it? Then what's the next step? Now he's nominated. He has to get approved by the Senate, and then it's vacation time for him or for me. Right?
Oh, there it is. Yeah. It's the halfway point between Mexico and Colombia.
All right. So there we have it.
And I think you can hit. I think you can. Oh, it's near the Cayman Islands, and I think you could hit Cuba with a rock from there.
Well, this is good. This is what's going on, and there'll be more from us with this. But we're very. Hey, Dave. This is the what is this? The third one now. Remember, we featured Bobby Kennedy on the cover of George Magazine. He became Health Human Services. We featured when was the last time we talked about Governor Mike Huckabee? We featured him on the cover, and he became the ambassador to Israel. So,
right, and Marianne Williamson, we featured her on the cover, and she's just a very nice lady.
Yes. Anyway, lots going on with that.
Good ideas. Marianne Williamson had a great idea. If all of these food companies, that throw away and write off their foods, for example, like Goya and Campbell's and some of the others, Progresso even, if they donated those foods to food banks all over the country, it would pretty much end hunger.
You know what? We're not debating her now, but one of the things that I learned with this, because of the potato thing that we covered, one of the hard things is even if they donate it, it's the travel fee to donate it. Remember we did this part about the potatoes. I see potato. Anyway, yes.
Yeah.
ES. No.
So what does that have to do with donating cans?
Oh, because that is one of the. If I was debating her, now I'm not. But that is one of the problems of just a huge company just donating it. They still have to get it to the food bank by travel. You don't see the point of
Are you all right today? Are you all right today?
Okay. Really quick. All right. To prove my point here, Dave.
To prove my point, they still have to get it out of their warehouses. But it has to go somewhere. Right now, it's going to the dumps or going to wherever they're dumping the stuff. Why not the food banks?
Okay. Hypothetically, I have 20,000 pounds of potatoes here, right? For some reason, I can't sell them or whatever. You can't just donate and say one potato for every American.
Because you have to travel. First of all, you're talking about a perishable item. I'm talking about cans.
What are we going to do? A can with a string and say, I want you to have a can of Goya?
I think you've been smoking some today.
Oh, should we talk about
too much? You've been reading too much about Trump legalizing CBD, and I think you visited a couple of the establishments.
All right.
What in the world?
All right, guys. All right. I'm just saying it costs money to distribute.
You get a list of the food banks. You send a bunch of people to do it, and they send the boxes out.
Where is the? Oh, for free.
Where is the? I mean, you can get Coco the monkey to do this.
Oh yeah, Coco the monkey has a driver's license. has
Hey, listen, Coco the
commercial
monkey
driver's license.
was in
Oh,
a
the monkey
rocket,
has a commercial
and
driver's license. You for
Coco
free.
the monkey was
Free.
took a trip in a rocket. You didn't. You should be appreciative of Coco the monkey.
Through the firmament. The monkey went to the moon.
Whatever, but he went up in a rocket, and you haven't. To the firmament, so out of space. What doesn't matter? You're not up there. What does it matter to you?
So we're comparing resumes. We're
Goodness.
comparing resumes. The hell?
I'm telling you.
What the heck?
Hey, listen, folks, you ever want to get into a great whataboutism argument? Argue with this guy. He has all the whataboutisms. He pulls them out of his pocket. He reaches deep into the closet to find where he might have hidden a couple of whataboutisms. It's unbelievable.
What about Tataria? Huh?
Yeah. What about Tataria? That's like a joke. That's like a
not
joke.
a joke.
Hell in the Bible is called Tartarus. So imbeciles online decide that, where the glorious place where Christ reigned for 1,000 years was called Tataria. What? I got to tell you what. I have to cleanse my mind of stupidity.
I will cleanse my mind.
That's right, Robbie. Now I want a banana.
We got to get going, man. We burned 14
Look at Brad.
minutes.
Brad Porter drops in once a month with some grain of what he thinks is truth, and he drops it on there like, listen, I've been holding this because I'm just my intellect and my IQ of 97 is working overtime, so I'm gonna lay this on you guys.
Oh my goodness. Dave.
Can we stop? I got a lot to talk about. People want to know about cord cutting.
Are we ready to go?
Yes. Yes, Ginger. Everything's fake, including this broadcast. Come on, stop the thing.
All right, here we go. First up for us on the dispatch, U.S. economic chokehold on Iran reaches peak. Leverage as collapse risks emerge. Dave, do you write these titles or what? You write them, right? Oh my goodness.
I don't write the titles. Those are the titles of the articles.
Oh, okay. All right. Anyway, let's talk about this, Dave. Okay. Do you guys realize? Can I show a thing? All right. If you were to take $1, right?
Yes.
And exchange it for the Iran's
Hey, listen, the real is worth more than the dinar.
You have to understand. I'll just read this. Real.
Listen, you could trade 100 reals for 500 dinars. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right. So here it is. This is their currency is collapsing like something crazy.
Yeah, 1.5 million of their reals, which is like their dollar, equals one of our dollars.
Now you remember a long time.
Our currency is collapsing, and the banking industry is going away. The evil Federal Reserve is going to bankrupt all of us. Come on, man.
Now you remember, maybe it was just me, but when I was in high school,
I can't take it another day.
I'm trying to do a bit.
All right.
So a long time ago, when I was in high school, people used to say, "Oh, it's like a peso," because they were making fun of the peso. The peso. Look at the Iranian currency, man.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, and then when you look at the peso ain't doing too bad.
Yeah. All right. Let's do this video. It's halfway into the show. Here we go.
All right.
The Iranians really are under a lot of economic stress. The blockade is effectively stopping them from receiving around 80 to 90% of the source of their government revenue. So they're entirely dependent on exporting oil and gas for their government revenue. Their exchange rate has plummeted. They've got 68% inflation. But even despite all of that economic pressure, they still have control over the domestic security apparatus.
Dude, 68% inflation. 68% inflation. I think that's worse than than Germany after World War One.
Right. Well, again, what we see here is part of modern warfare. It's also attacking a country's means of making making profit. This is what they do. That's their country's product. We talked about this before the show. Japan, right? They make cars. They make, quite frankly, great cars. I love the Lexus, right? And they, what is the other one? Is the Nissan whatever? Anyway, they make, they make great products. That's what they do. They don't have oil there, but they have great products. That's their product, is oil. And the nicest is blockaded it.
Now, the nice woman on there said that that they still have control of the police apparatus, right?
Right.
But that's only going to last so long, because the guys, all of a sudden there's not enough money to buy food. There might not be food on the shelves. They got families and whatnot. All of a sudden, all of that allegiance starts to fade.
Right.
When there's no money.
And you know what, Dave, I wish that they would make, I wish that people online, that is, would be like understanding, like there's people online saying, oh, Iran holds all the cards. Iran holds all the cards. No. Yeah. Okay. Oh, here, Dave, this is goes along with that. You want to talk about the oil thing?
Yeah,
here?
But hold on. Yeah, let's talk about the oil.
Okay. Guys, this was from the Dispatch as well. This was our article, or the one that Dave Blaze wrote. The global oil panic, why Europe and China are begging for American crude. And this is a huge story here, Dave, because we talked about once it's blockaded, it sends a message to everyone, oh my goodness, that little Strait of Hormuz could ruin our economy too. And this is what's going on. Let me play this 50-second video here.
Right now, we're seeing a massive effort on behalf of all countries in the region to diversify logistics and methods of transportation and energy flows away from the Strait of Hormuz without any Iranian involvement whatsoever. We're seeing a railroad project done with Turkey, Syria, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia. We're seeing a east to west pipeline by the Saudis. We're seeing the Emiratis investing in Jordan in a railroad that will link it to the port of Aqaba on the Red Sea. And there's so much more. And every way you look at it, it's just money lost for Iran. It's money lost for the IRGC. And the only way they can, try to subvert that is if they get to the negotiating table.
So I want you to think about this for a second. We blockaded their blockade.
Right.
All right. So now what's happening is other nations are investing real money in building out railroads and building out all sorts of alternatives to get the oil to them. Now, even after the strait is reopened and everything goes back to normal, the nations that invested all of this money and time into this build out of alternative routes, they're not going to just go back to this is lost revenue for Iran like forever.
Right. Okay. We talked about this earlier. Let's say that I have an apple farm in my home. It's one road in, one road in, one road out. And I have an apple farm. Let's say that the guy on the corner there puts a bazooka so no apples could go out or whatever, and he's negotiating with us. I'm telling you what's going to happen. We are going to figure out a way to run down some trees to make a road somewhere else. And even after this is all settled, what we would say as a homeowner is say, listen, even after it gets settled, they let us pass. We're never going to do this again, because at any time they're going to say, oh yeah, we're going to shut down the road from your house.
Right. Because if you start using his road again, then you put the power back in his hand that at any time he could start charging a toll. He could start doing it. And that's the problem that Iran has right now. They're being seen as they're really being seen as a villain,
The
except
troublemaker.
to
Yeah.
the Flynn network on X, who thinks that Iran is the
Right.
way to go.
What you do is you say what we talked about yesterday. Oh my goodness, this regime is trying to execute women. Thank God we have Trump that made a tweet and saved them. But with all of this stuff going on here, it's done at this point. If they're even after it opens up, and it will open up, but even after it opens up, all these other countries are saying we cannot be held hostage anymore. So let's build that railroad. It would be no different if someone put a bazooka at the end of the road. After that happens, you're going to be like, as a homeowner, we got to find another path out of here. We'll just take the trees, get it out, make a path to the road.
Right.
And it's going to take some time. But once it opens, they're not going to say, oh, we were going to build this railroad, but let's not. They're going to build the railroad.
They're never going to go back. And the other thing that it's doing, it's creating, which is a beautiful thing for the United States. It's creating a shortage of US dollars, because now the only way that nations that want to buy oil, let's say from Saudi Arabia, Qatar, whatever it is, they can do so with US dollars. But because the strait is closed and the ships can't get the oil through, it's becoming quite a conundrum. So what nations have been doing, now central banks normally hoard gold, but the problem is because they can't get their hands on enough US dollars, and they have a lot of money tied up in hard assets like securities and gold or silver, whatever, they're selling their gold and silver on the market to get dollars. The other thing that's happening is the Federal Reserve, along with the Treasury, are setting up swap lines for nations that are holding U.S. treasuries but need the dollars. So they're going to set up a swap line so they can easily swap out the treasuries for the U.S. dollars, as opposed to these nations dumping them on the open market to get the dollars.
Right.
So it's something, Robbie. Russia sold 22 tons of gold, which reinforces that in times like this, whenever there's a problem going on in the world or there's some kind of uncertainty, the nations will run to the dollar as a safe haven. And it's not because, that's because it's linked to oil and we're beating them over the head. No, it's because our government is stable. And it's backed by all the wealth of the United States. Unlike Iran's reals.
This is the same discussion we had 3 years ago, and we were attacked brutally with it. Because if you don't want to have the power to Donald Trump to make deals with other nations, say, we're going to cut you off from the dollar, which is what happened, then the way to attack it is you get people to go and have your propaganda that the dollar is evil, the Federal Reserve is evil. Now, today, you can't win an argument with us anymore. There are people out there that say, the dollar's bad, the dollar's bad. You realize that is what our power is, that they cannot function without it. If not, take the real. Take another one. There's plenty of countries that don't have money. They all have.
Yeah, and these lunatics out there are teaching their children this fiction, right? So their children from a very young age grow up thinking that everything about the U.S. dollar is no good, the Federal Reserve's no good, the Treasury. I mean, it's just bonkers.
This is from me, because I was never involved with politics at all. You guys know my story. So 5 years ago, you enter into this and everything, oh my goodness, you're kidding me. The Federal Reserve is bad.
He used to throw eggs at Alan Greenspan's house.
The dollar, it's the Rockefellers. It's the Rothschilds. There's all this. You realize that
instead of saying Rockefeller, instead of saying Rothschild, just put in air quotes some Jew, because that's what you really mean. I mean, I hate to say it like that, but this is like, it's unbelievable.
Right.
The Jews
So
are like
if you're-
what, 1% of the world's population. Meanwhile, there's Gentiles running all over the place, being controlled by the few Jews. So
So
stupid.
when people look to this and they say to us, "Oh, you're deep state because you're promoting the Federal Reserve," you know they're wrong. They're flat out wrong. And if you don't believe me, ask Donald Trump, because he's doing all of this because of the strength of the dollar. It goes back to our issue from 2 years ago where BRICS was bad. BRICS is bad because it would have been a competing dollar, or whatever you want to call it, currency that they could use, backed by Brazil, Russia, India, and China. They were going to gang up and say, this currency you use, don't use the dollar. And Donald Trump destroyed it. All right.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
Right.
All right.
You know, the other thing, I watched this commercial, so I'm watching the news. You guys know I like to watch Maria de Bartiromo's, and not because she's a fellow paisana, but because she really has a great program in the morning. And there's a commercial that comes on for the flag, right? The Allegiance Flag Company, you know, and they're like, oh, the American flag should be made in America, and buy our flags, and they show you how they're so crafted, and the flags, buy American. The American flag should be bought from an American company. And, you know, so I looked up the price of these flags. And the thing that struck me, it's almost as contrived as the organic food industry, where they still use pesticides. There's nothing really different about it, except that if it's labeled organic, they charge you, if it's a can of soup, let's say it's a can of soup, they charge you an extra $1 for that same can of soup. Now, if the flag company was putting out their flags at roughly the same price as the imported flags, good, of course, we'll buy the American one. But if your flag is 10 times the price of the flag that I can buy anywhere else, why would I buy the flag that you're making?
What's American made?
Then lower your price, American made.
Oh, okay.
Right?
No, well, no. Okay.
Oh,
No.
we should just pay more? That is dumb. No one in the world does that.
Dave, we will revisit. We will revisit. We got to move on.
I'm just saying, you want to have a business, lower the price. Unless you're producing, unless there's, you know, you're putting like gold fibers in it, then I could see it.
All right. Dave, let's revisit. Seriously, I want to do it. We'll spend another half an hour. Really? Okay. Unless you want to cut one of those out, but I don't see how we cut it. All right. Well, all right. Let's do this. Let's do the weed one. Let's talk about weed.
Yes, let's talk about weed.
You want to read this one off?
Yeah, Trump calls for Congress to amend hemp ban after marijuana reclassification.
All right. Hey, I found a video. Normally I do videos. If I can't find something that's worthy, I'll make my own video. Dave, you can't beat this one. Can I show you this one here? 1 minute? All right, here we go.
Now, Schedule 1 is drugs like heroin and LSD that have no accepted medical use. Schedule 3 are drugs like Tylenol with codeine and steroids that do have accepted medical use. Now, equally important, this is not legalization of recreational use cannabis. This specifically applies to medical grade cannabis. That means that physicians will be able to treat patients with medical grade cannabis that is sourced from a medical grade cannabis company. Equally as important, what it does not change. It does not legalize recreational use cannabis. Recreational use will still be left to the states, and the DEA and DOJ will take that issue up after a 60-day period of public comments and further review. So, to put it simply, the government just made cannabis a regulated medical substance, but not a regulated consumer-facing product just yet. Although folks in the industry have told me this is once again moving the needle further in that direction.
Okay, so all right, great. No, so that's what's going on in the medical marijuana world and all this stuff. It's becoming an actual class 3 drug. So
Look, here's the statistic that is very, very difficult for all of these proponents of legal marijuana to overcome. And the statistic is that people that are addicted to methamphetamine, crack cocaine, heroin, whatever the street drugs are, somewhere down the line, were introduced to the whole line of it through marijuana. And that's just the statistic. And that doesn't translate to liquor. I know a lot of people say, oh, what about you drink liquor? Yeah, but liquor doesn't, it's different. So
no, you mentioned earlier, like, you drink alcohol and then it's out of your system whatever X amount of time.
That's another thing. Pot will last in your system for 30 to 60 days. Right? So, and alcohol is what, 4 to 6 hours? It's out.
Right. All right. Dave, you want to do the Blaze BIOS?
Yeah. We're going to talk about court. Go ahead.
Okay, here we go.
Time for Blaze BIOS, sponsored by the Blaze team.
Dave, can I get some money if I make a new one for you?
No. All right, guys. We've had a lot of interest in cord cutting. Now, cord cutting is the ultimate death by 1,000 cuts or cords. The irony of cord cutting is that it was promised as a way to escape the bloated, expensive cable bundle, but only for us to end up with a fragmented landscape that often these individual services cost more and require basically a spreadsheet to manage. The confusion stems from something called simulated scarcity. In other words, streaming platforms intentionally leave gaps in their libraries, like a specific local sports network or a single hit show that you want to watch. But they do this to nudge you into stacking subscriptions. So we want to advocate for what's known as strategic rotation rather than a permanent collection. In other words, we want you to, number one, define your anchor versus your tourist services. So most people treat streaming like a utility, something you buy and you keep it and so on, but it should be treated like a theater ticket. So you have your anchor service. Those are the 1 or 2 platforms that you watch every day. Then the tourist services, these are for specific content. Like if somebody wants to watch a certain show, subscribe to, for example, Hulu for a month, and then cancel it immediately after you binge watch it or whatever. Okay. The other thing is, the biggest point of confusion is also live TV. So people often cut the cord and then realize they don't have their local news or NFL games. Now you can get, a digital antenna that you can put near a window or on your wall and so on. And normally if you roam around the room and you twist it and so on, you'll get pretty good reception. All right. So that's not bad. And then there's also free TV like Tubi and Pluto TV and Freevee. All right. So they're out there. Now, the main thing, and I'll just close with this for today's segment. The main thing is the goal should be some kind of a budget cap. In other words, if the total of your streaming services exceeds your original cable bill, then the cord cutting experiment has failed. So the best way that we can suggest this to you is to shift your mindset from, oh man, what am I missing, to what am I actually watching today, which is a far cry from what most people do. And that's what do you think, Gene?
I love it. And the reason being is, I'll just say it, when it's hockey season, it's ESPN Plus or whatever. But the thing is, every other time of the year, I don't need that anymore. So I've learned to do that. And truth be told, what I use is Amazon Prime because I have to use it free for shipping. So I get it for free. We watch that all the time. And then I added on different ones just like that.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah. The whole thing is if you've cut the cord and you've canceled your TV services from your cable company, and then you've stacked 5 or 6 different streaming services to get all the shows you like, and all of a sudden those streaming services monthly are costing you more than your original cable TV bill.
Right.
You know, you're gonna have to second guess all that.
Okay. Thanks. We got one more topic, but thank you for this.
Time for Blaze Bios, sponsored by the Blaze team.
All right, Dave Blaze, we got one more story. This one's a fun one for us here. AOC says Trump fires only women from the cabinet. I don't think she really means that. You think, Dave?
Look, and this is not going to be a popular opinion, but I'm sure that Brad Porter will cite some portion of the Constitution that applies to it. So here's the thing. President Trump, he's identifying the weak links. So far, those weak links have been the women that have been fired. But it's not that he's just firing women. He's certainly not going to fire Susie Wiles, right? Or others. So that doesn't hold water. It's just these particular ones, you know. The
first time around, he fired all men. Okay, let's hear her say it herself. This is AOC.
Kaiser, who do you think the next person Trump should fire should be?
I mean, is he out of women? Because that seems to be his pattern right now.
Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez implied Thursday President Donald Trump only fires women from his cabinet. Just over a year into Trump's second presidency, there have been 3 women fired from the Trump cabinet. First was former Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. Second was Attorney General Pam Bondi. And just this week, Labor Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer was fired.
All right.
She turns around and she goes, was he out of women?
All right.
Come on, man. That's funny. That's funny.
All right. Dave Blaze, we finished the week.
Interview her. You know, you want to bring your buddy Andre on for an interview and all of this other stuff. Why don't you do something useful? Get Sandy Cortez in here.
Hey, you remember last time you said that? You said, hey, let's bring on Marla Maples.
Marla Maples, I know.
All right.
I know. That's miraculously worked out.
I'll work on that.
But that's because we have other connections. But Sandy Cortez, who would we connected to?
I know.
We're certainly not connected to Chuck Schumer. And if we were, she definitely wouldn't want that.
All right. Dave Blaze, anything else before we go? It's Friday. All right.
We would have to go through Larry David, who's Bernie Sanders' cousin. And that could be the workaround.
I'd love to have her on. I would love to.
Well, it would be fun, wouldn't it? Would it be fun? It would just be fun. You know, yeah, you could say she's this, that, and the other thing, but I think it would just be a fun interview.
I'm hot on the trail, Dave Blaze.
Yeah,
all right.
Anything hot on the trail.
Talk about before we get out of here? Oh, thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for sticking around here.
Yes, everybody's great. Ginger thinks I'm high. Ginger, you're great.
Say that?
That's right. SNL Larry David. Right, Robbie, listen, Larry David is actually Bernie Sanders, I think, second or third cousin.
All right. We did it. All right. Dave,
Cheryl, you made it. A little late, but Lori K. Melinda. Now, look, guys, with the cord cutting and the streaming services, we're certainly not advocating for that. But, you know, if you want to watch a show, subscribe and then cancel. Because these streaming services are like vampires. They just sit out there and get you.
All right. Guys, if you have not, go to georgemagazine.com, get the dispatch. It's free. And also, guys, it's not too late. Go get a copy of the America's 250th. And this weekend, once again, I'll be signing some out. We got a few more here before the new batch gets out there. Okay.
All right. Hold on. Ginger clarified. Thank you, Ginger. Thank you, Ginger. The only one high here is this guy. I'm kidding. That's not true. That's not true.
What, did you say something?
No.
All right.
All right, out of here. Look for in the news. We're throwing Spain out of NATO.
The what?
We're going to throw Spain out of NATO, and
Okay.
Germany wants to be the United States of Europe and take over everything.
All right. Guys, thank you so much. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. Stick around with us on Facebook this weekend. Thank you, guys. Thanks for checking us out. Don't forget to go to georgemagazine.com and sign up for the Dispatch. It's free. Get the emails and the news stories. And check us out Monday through Friday, 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. You can check us out on Facebook and YouTube. We'll see you then.